Hi, boys. In this video, we're going to be talking about a story from Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln lived a long time ago in this country, in the United States of America. Now, where do you think I am? This is an old store. This is actually a store similar to the store that a man named Abraham Lincoln lived in. Now, you may have heard of Abraham Lincoln before. He actually became the 16th president of the United States of America. He was the leader of the entire country of the United States. There were a lot of people who trusted him and who liked him. Well, one of the things that people always talked about when they referred to Abraham Lincoln was that they called him Honest Abe. Abe was short for Abraham Lincoln, so they called him Honest Abe. They called him Honest Abe because he always told the truth. In fact, listen to this story. Some people say that when he was younger, when he was a young man, he actually was a store clerk. Look at this store that I'm in right now. You see that book over there on the table and that old lamp and these old shelves. Now, when you go to the grocery store today, you probably see a lot of big lights at the on the ceiling. You see tall, long shelves with anything you'd probably ever want to buy. Well, in these stores, a long time ago, they had these old wooden shelves with jars and boxes, and you'd open them up and find candy. There'd be flour or sugar or things like that. And this book over here, they didn't have credit cards to swipe their cards. They actually had to pay with cash, with pennies or dollar bills. In fact, I have something here to show you. Check out these pennies right here. I have tons and tons of pennies, tons and tons of pennies. A long time ago, you could actually buy a lot of things with just a few pennies. And today, you can't really buy anything with one penny. This is one penny right here. You can't buy anything with a penny. At least I don't think you can, at least in the United States. Usually you need at least $1, which is 100 pennies if you like to do math. Well, a long time ago when Abraham Lincoln was a young man, he worked as a store clerk, which meant that when people wanted to buy some of these things off these shelves, they'd walk up to the counter and you see this little black thing right here. They used to weigh how heavy the sugar was or how heavy the flour or the beans were. And based on how heavy that little black thing went down, that's how much you had to pay in pennies or dollars for that amount of wheat or grain, beans, sugar, flour, or maybe even candy. Well, when you found out, when the store clerk told you how much you needed to pay, the store clerk would write down in the book they might write down things like who was buying it and how much they bought and how much they paid. Well, there's this story that when Abraham Lincoln was the store clerk, probably standing behind an old table or counter just like this one, he had a woman who came into the store and wanted to buy something. So she picked out what she wanted and she brought it to the counter probably and gave it to Abraham Lincoln, to Honest Abe. And Abraham counted how much she would need to pay, told her how much, and she paid Abraham the money to buy what she needed. So then she walked out. She bought what she needed from Abraham, the store clerk, and she started walking home, I guess. Or maybe she rode home on a horse or in a buggy or a wagon or something like that. Well, later on, Abraham Lincoln realized that he had accidentally charged the woman too many pennies. She had paid more than she was supposed to. He had told her that she was supposed to pay too much. And so he charged her. It's called charged her too much. If you charge someone too much, it means that if you want to buy a piece of candy from me and I have the candy and it says on the label of the candy, this is $1. It says it's $1. But then you end up paying me $1 and five more pennies, $1 and 5 pennies. Well, that's more than you're supposed to pay because it says it's only for $1. Well, that's what happened to this woman. She had paid more than she was supposed to, and Abraham Lincoln felt really bad about this. He wanted to only charge exactly the right amount so that she could keep the money that she needed and that she wanted and not pay more than she was supposed to. That's called being honest. If you're a store clerk and you want to be honest, make sure that you only charge people or that people only pay you the right amount and that you give them back the money that's the right amount. Well, guess what Abraham Lincoln decided to do when he found out that this was happening, that she had accidentally paid too much? He decided to pick up those pennies and he started walking. And now some people think that they say he walked 3 or 4 miles. Maybe you've done a running race before, like a mile race. That is a long, long time, a long distance. He walked like 3 or 4 miles just to give that woman back a few little pennies because he did not want his heart to feel like he had done the wrong thing. He wanted his heart and he wanted God to know that he had always done the right thing. So Abraham Lincoln returned the pennies to the woman, walking a long, long, long distance. Now, you just think about that for a minute. Let's pretend like you're at home and your mom or dad or someone asked you if you had cleaned your room. What would Abraham Lincoln do? What if he forgot to clean his room? Would he say he cleaned his room even though he didn't clean his room? No, he would tell the truth because he walked 3 or 4 miles to tell the truth. So I'm sure he would tell his parents the truth, even if it was hard. Just like it was probably hard to walk 3 or 4 miles to return those pennies. Let's think of another example. Let's say that you're in school, okay, and you're taking a test, and you know that you're supposed to not peek at the answers. You're just supposed to take a good test, just based on what you know in your mind. Honest Abraham, would not cheat. He would not tell a lie, and he would do what he was supposed to do, which is being honest and being trustworthy. That's what it's called, being trustworthy or honest. So what would you do if you were in class and you weren't supposed to do something, or you weren't supposed to take something, or you weren't supposed to look at something? Would you actually do what you were expected to do, what you're supposed to do? I'm sure you would do just what Abraham Lincoln would do. Tell the truth, be honest, and if you make a mistake, just like Abraham Lincoln did, he works to fix it so that he can be honest and be trustworthy. Now, real men are trustworthy, and you will be a real man too. When people can say, I know you are trustworthy. You always tell the truth. You always do what you're supposed to do. And if you make mistakes, you make it better. You say you're sorry.